Welcome to my first vegetable garden. Today's the fourth episode of growing seeds indoors for new gardeners on a budget. Everything you see has been shown in a series. The growth is going really well. Today I want to talk about watering. Watering is really important, of course, because without it your plants will die. Now you can underwater and you can overwater, and you can water in a way that splashes disease and spores and fungus around, and you can water in a way that makes it more complicated and more time consuming. So I want to show you the easiest way to do it that takes care of all the problems I was talking about. The quickest way to water is to water the bottom of the tray, meaning, and I'm going to give you examples to show you when to water, how you know to water. You fill this tray up, quarter of the way with water, set the cells back on. It could be containers, it could be all these seed cells. I sell all these at my seed shop. Just make sure you have holes in the container. When you try and water from the top, not only does it splash everywhere, but the water, when it hits the soil, splashes the soil over to here. The cell floods, water drains over here, and it will just spread problems if you have problems in your soil. When you water from the bottom, everything wicks upward and just gets absorbed into the mix without water washing across to the other cells. We have other plants growing. So we're going to bottom water. Let me show you how to do that, and then I'll talk to you about how to identify when it is time to water. In the last episode I showed you how to set up the seed cells for planting. I just set this one up about 15 minutes ago. There's moisture in the seed starting mix. Just grabbed it out of my container. You always want a little bit of moisture in there to start. It helps with the water being wicked up through the seed starting mix. If that was totally dry, it's just going to float on the water. So your seed starting mix has to have a little bit of moisture in there. You can see that it's a lighter brown than this tray. This tray I set up yesterday. I actually planted, I bottom watered, and you can see that it's a nice dark brown. That's how you know that your seed starting mix is saturated. So let's pretend that we put some seeds in here. It's ready to go. Again, we don't want to water on the top because it's going to wash water all over the place. Could spread diseases. It's problematic. I like to water by simply just lifting up the cell or your container. This is a ½ gallon. You want to put in about a ¼ inch of water, and we'll check this at the end of the video. I'll show you how it wicks up. About a ½ gallon. I like using milk containers. I use this for fertilizing too, and again I'll show you how to fertilize these plants in the future. Also show you how to grow everything, how to seed start just about every crop you can think of. ½ gallon or a gallon milk jug. Put the water right into there, set it back down, and you're just going to wait 15 minutes to ½ an hour. This should get nice and dark. If there's any excess water, you want to dump it out. You don't want to leave water sitting in here for small plants. When the plants are bigger, like this, you can leave some water in there. The plants will be able to handle it. But when the seeds are small and there's a lot of moisture in there, a lot of water in there, sometimes it creates an atmosphere or creates an environment for fungus to grow, and it can be problematic. But larger plants, it's okay. So you're going to let the water sit in there 15 to 20 minutes. Wait till this gets nice and dark. If all the water is gone and it still looks light like this, you have to add some more water. Here some plants have been growing for several weeks. You can see that the starting mix is nice and dark. I just watered these yesterday. In some cases you may get algae growing, the green algae. That's not really a problem. It's not going to hurt your plants. To help prevent that, you do want a drying out period. So it's really important to understand that once your seed starting mix is soaked, dark brown, absorb the water, it's always going to dry from the top down. So the sunlight, evaporation, well, the lights, not the sunlight, will help this evaporate and dry. And the top is going to dry and moisture will stay down here. So you want the tops to get to a light brown. That helps reduce mold growth, fungus growth. But after it turns to a light brown, you really have a day or two before you have to water because moisture stays down here. When you have a larger cell like this, you might be able to go 3 days or so, maybe a little bit more. When you have smaller cells, 1 or 2 days, you want to water. What does that look like? Coming up here, let me pull this down. Here's an example of a flat that's going to need to be watered today. The top is dry. It's a light brown. It goes from that dark color to a light color, and you can see a perfect example right there. Two of them, for whatever reason, had more water in there, stayed a little bit darker. The other two dried out. it's going to transition from dark to something like this, where it's dark and light, and then it's going to be all nice and light. And that's the signal, and that's going to happen over a couple of days. The bigger your plants are, the quicker the starting mix will dry out, depending on how much or how big the cells are and how much seed starting mix is in there. These small cells of 6 will dry faster than these cells of 4, which will dry faster than these large cells of 6. Just kind of makes sense. So you're looking for the surface to become a light brown, mostly light brown across. You know, you're going to have to water everything. It's really, you don't have to worry about like taking this one out because it's got water in it. Just generally speaking, water the whole flat. When you pick this up, it's still heavy. So after you water, pick up your cell and you'll feel some weight to it. This way, when the top turns a light brown, you'll be able to still feel the water weight in there, and you'll know you have some time before you have to water. If you pick up a completely dry cell, and you can experiment with that, you can make one or let one totally dry out, it's going to be so much lighter than the rest of these, and that's how you know that it's really been missed and that you didn't water in time. So I would just take this, lay it down like I did for that example I showed you in the beginning, fill the flat with water, maybe again quarter depth, and let these sit in there. Add a little bit more if you need to. With time, you get in practice, you figure it out, so you're not really wasting water or having to put more into there. And then you just let this sit on a level surface for 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and it will resaturate. It's all going to become dark like that. You may have to do this once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, depending on how warm it is in your house, how hot the grow lights are, how big the plants are. But you're always looking for the same clues. Fully saturated, beginning to dry out on top. You wait a day or two after it dries, like when it goes from here to this to that and it's dry across. You wait a day or two and then you fill it, and that's going to be a perfect way to water your plants. It's only been about 10 minutes and you can see the seed starting mix where we bottom watered is already getting saturated. It's getting that nice dark color. Another 5-10 minutes, it's going to look just like the seed starting mix from last night. Fully saturated, good to go. You probably won't have to water this for another 5 or 6 days, depending on how warm your house is and the temperature of the lights, because nothing's germinated. The plants aren't really using the water at this point. I want to show you real quick. If you do try and water from the top, I mean, you pretty much have to go like this and go really slowly across. And a lot of times, you know, you can see how the water will flood across if you go too quickly. And that's how you can spread spores and fungus and problems like that. And that's with a pour right out of the container. If you get like a sprinkling can to try and make it more even, then water's getting everywhere and you're dealing with lights and electricity and stuff. I just do really recommend bottom watering. Let's wait a few more minutes for this to totally saturate. It's been about another 10 minutes and the seed starting mix is pretty much the same color as the flat that I did yesterday. I'd wait another 10 minutes, whatever water's left I would dump out. That's well saturated. Easiest way is to bottom water. Please follow me in this series. I'm not only going to show you how to get everything set up for growing, we're going to go through herbs, flowers, cool weather crops, warm weather crops, and I'll also show you how I take these out into the garden and grow them in the garden. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and I'm doing a whole series on how to start seeds indoors. Keep it simple, keep it on a budget. Thanks for watching.